On the warpath this evening. For decades, as you know, the senator from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, has claimed to be an American Indian. Now, she did this to advance her career, and it worked. Harvard Law School once boasted that Warren was the first woman of color to ever serve on their faculty. Woman of color. But Warren also used her fake Indian heritage to frame herself as somebody affected by America's sad history of racial discrimination. Warren posed as a victim because on the left, victimhood is power. Watch her do it.
My father's parents said, absolutely not. You can't marry her because she's part Cherokee and she's part Delaware. And after fighting it as long as they could, my parents went off, they eloped. So what I know about my parents is I know that in that little town they grew up in, that my father's parents knew enough about my mother and her family.
Assume then that that's the fact, that you're 1/32nd.
No, that doesn't tell you. Don't do that.
Well, why shouldn't I do that? But that is the fact,
no,
is it not?
No, it is not.
Why not?
It's not about the number.
Her own trail of tears. Well, as it turned out, old Hiawatha couldn't come up with a single, not one American Indian in her family tree. The rest of the country laughed at her, and rightly so. And then this morning, Warren hit back at the rest of us. Out of nowhere, she produced a private DNA test that she claims confirms her story. Along with it, of course, she released a video that doubles as an ad for her presidential campaign. Here it is.
Now, the president likes to call my mom a liar. What do the facts say?
The facts suggest that you absolutely have a Native American ancestor in your pedigree.
I'm not enrolled in a tribe, and only tribes determine tribal citizenship. I understand and respect that distinction, but my family history is my family history.
Well, so the senator concedes that she's not, quote, enrolled in a tribe. You may have guessed that. That fact is settled in any case. But what do the test results that she's produced actually say? Well, according to Warren, she may have had one unnamed and still unidentified Indian ancestor, not necessarily from North America, by the way, 8 or so generations ago, potentially. Now, that could make her less than 1/1000th American Indian. That's about roughly as American Indian as virtually every white person you've ever met, which is to say, not American Indian at all. So don't count on running into Elizabeth Warren at the next meeting of the tribes. But do count on her to keep pretending that she's somehow the spokeswoman for indigenous peoples everywhere. Warren has appointed herself head of the #MeSue movement.
Native communities have faced discrimination, neglect, and violence for generations. And Trump can say whatever he wants about me. But mocking Native Americans or any group in order to try to get at me, that's not what America stands for.
Now, hold on a minute. Who's mocking Native Americans? Well, if anyone's doing that, it's Elizabeth Warren. She's the one who's stolen their identity and leveraged their suffering to climb the greasy pole of our fake meritocracy. No High Plains whiskey trader ever acted with more ruthless cynicism than she has. And actual Indians are disgusted by it. The Cherokee Nation just this afternoon released a statement. They called Warren's claims inappropriate and wrong. Quote, it makes a mockery out of DNA test and its legitimate uses, while also dishonoring legitimate tribal governments and their citizens. In other words, it's bad for Indians. So it looks like that backfired. But DNA tests aren't really the point, and we should remember that. It doesn't matter if Sacagawea is 1% Indian or 90% Indian. DNA should never matter, except to physicians treating inherited illnesses. Your bloodline should not dictate who you vote for, what job you get, where your kids go to school, whether you get promoted, or anything else. A ruling class sends the opposite message. They believe in a racial spoils system. They tell you that your immutable traits, the ones that you had absolutely nothing to do with, are the most important thing about you. That is the very definition of racism. It's also a dangerous course for a country to take, especially right now. Increasingly, researchers know much more about DNA and the role that it plays in human life. It's not hard at all to imagine a society that degenerates into pure genetic determinism, with factions squabbling for entitlements based on their genes. It's already happening in Brazil, where race tribunals measure people's skull shapes to see if they qualify for affirmative action. Other countries throughout history, as you may have read, have done similar and horrifying things. Do you want to live in a place like that? No thanks. Better to stick to our ideals, where we do our best, not always successfully, but we try to treat people as individuals and judge them by their behavior, what they do, and not their ancestry. Under that system, Fraudazuma never would have bothered to make up a fake family tree. It would have been pointless. Harvard likely would have hired someone impressive in her place. Multiply that by every institution in America, and you'd have a better country. Now, Elizabeth Warren's video today included ample footage of news personalities ridiculing her claims about her heritage. Here it is.
What does Warren translate into Cherokee as? Spreading bull?
You know Elizabeth Warren, right?
Most people.
Radio host Howie Carr was making war whoops in that clip, and he joins us tonight to make more. Howie, it's great to see you. So what do you make? I mean, you must feel a little chastened now that it turns out she's potentially 1/1000th American Indian. Are you retracting your mockery?
No. Tucker, if the Boston Globe was a legitimate news organization, the headline on the story would be something like DNA test prove white woman. Or, DNA test confirms Senator Warren is still a fake Indian. I mean, this is ridiculous. All my life, Tucker, the Globe has been running a story every 6th year saying Senator Kennedy is turning his life around. Well, Senator Kennedy's gone, so now Elizabeth Warren is turning her life around. And they're trying to promote her. Last month they had an amazing story about how her ethnic fraud, claiming they'd been American Indian, did not affect her meteoric rise in academia after she started checking the box. That didn't work. So now they're back with this today.
Now, let me just ask you,
Tucker,
as the only person really outside New England who ever looks at the Boston Globe, I always wonder, are they taking payment directly from her, or is it just a kind of moral payment that they? Why are they carrying water for a U.S. senator over there?
Well, I think she's part of the resistance, and what was interesting to me is this morning when the story came out, it said, well, she's somewhere between 132nd and 512th, which is not that great, but that was all wrong. They're used to fake news, but this time it was fake math. And it was really only 164th or up to 1,024. As soon as I leave here tonight, I'm playing the lottery. My number is 1024 tonight. But, the thing is, all the moonbats who love her, they've all posted the story saying she's 132nd, and this proves it. They didn't run the corrections. They had to run 2 corrections on the story. It was the fuzzy math until mid-afternoon. So, they're carrying water for her.
Has anyone ever asked the obvious question, which is, who cares? I mean, if she has one genetic makeup, does that make her a better person than if she has another genetic makeup? I mean, do we live in that country where you're judged by your DNA?
Tucker, I've been offering to pay for her DNA test for many moons. I offered to come up with my own wampum to pay for it, but she refuses. I mean, I think it's she's playing on the white guilt, and I just want to mention this too, Tucker. Another fraud that she's involved in, Pow Wow Chow. You're familiar with this cookbook? This is the one that This is the cookbook that she contributed to, all Indian recipes, and I think a chef prepared some for you. One of them is cold crab omelets, with very popular on the Trail of Tears back in the 19th century. Cold crab.
Actually,
it was lifted from a New York Times cookbook by a French chef.
We're actually recreating that recipe later on the show. Howie Carr, really the best thing about New England, joining us tonight. Thank you, Howie. Great to see you.
Thank you, Tucker.
Bill Jacobson has followed this story more closely and for longer than maybe anyone else. He's a professor at Cornell Law School. He blogs at Legal Insurrection, which you should read, and he joins us tonight. Bill, does this settle the story that you've been covering these many years?
No, it doesn't settle anything at all. In fact, it raises more questions. I mean, your viewers need to understand how deceptive Elizabeth Warren was in claiming Native American heritage, Native American ancestry. She did not claim it when she was a child. She didn't claim it for college. She didn't claim it for law school. She only claimed it when she was in her late 30s and beginning to climb the law school ladder, the law professor ladder, from the University of Texas to Harvard. That's the only time she's ever claimed it. She never affiliated with Native Americans. She never helped Native Americans. She was never a faculty advisor for Native Americans. She got herself listed as Native American so she could be declared a minority law professor, and she did that when she was climbing the ladder, and we know why she did that. She can say whatever she wants, but everybody understands this is a woman who built her political narrative claiming that other people are rigging the system. She tried to rig her career by claiming a status to which she's not entitled.
But wait a second. The Boston Globe told me a little while back that claiming to be the first non-white female Harvard Law School professor had no effect at all on her ascent within Harvard Law School. She didn't get any benefit from that. Is that true?
Well, we don't know that because Harvard has never released her complete hiring file. What the Boston Globe had were documents Elizabeth Warren provided to her, documents a few other people provided to them. But to my knowledge, and I specifically asked their reporter this question and never got an answer, her complete hiring file was never released. So, yes, there may be nothing there, but does it really matter whether she benefited? She tried to benefit. She tried to get an advantage over other people by claiming a status to which she's not entitled. It's the worst form of cultural appropriation or misappropriation, which is a very hot topic in progressive circles. She tried to misappropriate the identity of one of the most victimized people in history, or at least in recent history, which is Native Americans. And progressives seem not to care.
And yet, without conclusive evidence, her lackeys in the press declared her innocent. Amazing. Professor, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Thanks for following that story.